Welcome to the Lensrentals podcast. I'm Ryan Hill. This week, Joey, Roger, and I are answering listener questions. I'll get straight into it so we can cover as much ground as possible. But first, we want your questions. We're hoping to do many more of these Q&A episodes, and to make it easier for us to keep track of all the questions, there will be a link to a Google form in the show notes for this episode. If there's anything you want to know on any topic, big or small, fill out that form. If we answer your question on the show, we'll even send you a Lensrentals gift card as a thank you. Now, here are Joey and Roger. Joey, Roger, welcome to the Lensrentals podcast. We're back in the studio. Hello.
Hello.
We're looking at each other directly in the eyes.
Is this Lensrentals podcast? I'm in the wrong place.
We're breathing the same air.
You can tell it's the Lensrentals podcast because all the sound panels have fallen off the walls.
It's because for 15 months we haven't needed to be in here.
Yeah, it looks like an M.C. Escher painting in here.
Kind
I
of.
don't know.
Yeah.
We'll put up a picture.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Today we're going to answer some listener questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into it so we can get through as many as possible. And I'm going to start with a question from Chris, and I'm opening with this one on purpose, and you'll see why. So,
Oh, God.
Chris writes, what is the best possible lens plus camera combo I can rent for my wife and our newborn daughter's maternity pictures? Due date is October 15th, and I can't wait. I want to say first, congratulations, Chris. We got a version of this question from a bunch of different people, and I picked this one so Chris could get the rental credit we're giving away. But I want you guys to answer, unfortunately, Chris, why we can't answer this question. We probably got 6 questions that were like, what's the best camera and lens combo for product pictures or for business headshots, that kind of thing.
Or for a wedding.
Yeah, and it is not an uncommon question.
No.
We get this a lot on the phone, too. And we always kind of have to talk through why we can't really say for sure.
It's not that we can't answer it. It's that there's a lot of other questions that have to be answered to answer it.
Right.
Like, what do you normally shoot with? What are you used to?
What's your skill level?
What's your skill level? Where are you going to be taking these pictures?
What's your budget?
What's your budget? How much editing do you want to do?
And where are you going to use the pictures? Are they going to be printed or put online?
Yeah. It just involves so many follow-ups that we generally have to have a longer conversation than people expect.
Can I give you an aside story you can cut out later?
Absolutely.
I got a similar question for this many years ago from a woman who said, I need the best possible lens to shoot a horse show. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I said, well, there's no question. You need a 400-2.8 for the best possible lens. And she was a very nice lady. And after the horse show, I emailed her and said, well, how did it go and how'd you like the lens? And she said, well, I just could hardly hold it. And I'm like, well, were you not part of a company? And she's like, no, this is for my daughter. And I'm like, oh. And she said, I'm sure it was very nice. And this gentleman put it on a post for me and I used it there. So she had no tripod, no monopod, no nothing. Ended up actually having a really poor camera that she mounted to it. So I didn't ask questions. I learned, this is 15 years ago, always ask all these questions because people make an assumption that there's a best.
Right. And in Chris's case, for instance, maybe the best combination of camera and lens for Chris, maybe the best possible combination, right? If like your priorities are sharpness and resolution and frame rate, maybe we would recommend like a 16-35, a 24-70, a flash, maybe some strobes, maybe a 1DX Mark III, and maybe nobody wants that in the maternity ward.
Oh, I'd tell him a R6 and a 24-70.
Yeah, the smallest thing you can possibly get is probably the best move, the like least intrusive.
I was going to go with like an RX 100 or something.
Yeah, maybe something with a fixed lens. So yeah, priorities differ, I guess, is the point. And what people should do if they have this question, if you're listening to this podcast and you emailed in a question that is similar to this, what is the best lens for X? The move is to email us because it's not that we won't answer this question. We will happily. We'll just ask you a lot more information.
It needs to be a discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can't really cover it on the podcast, but for everybody who wrote this in, give us a call, shoot us an email. Even if you're not placing a rental, any tech will be happy to walk you through this. And we'll ask a ton of follow-ups to make sure that we're recommending the best possible thing.
I will give this partial answer, though. These days, any camera that's out there, any current generation camera, any current generation lens is going to be good enough for just about everybody, for just about anything.
Yeah, it'll take much better photos than your phone. And yeah, in Chris's case, it might depend mostly on what your skill level is and what you've worked with before.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to be learning a new system during delivery for sure.
No.
Right, exactly.
Hell no.
If you have any familiarity whatsoever with a different camera system, yeah, you want to go in knowing what you're doing.
And hell, these days in a maternity ward, I would say just bring your phone.
It's really
Possibly,
true.
Yeah.
I think the other thing here is any question that has best or worst or most in it is probably not answerable.
Yes. Yeah, we are going to be steering away from anything like that because it's just impossible to say. Everything is what you prefer.
You know, all I do for my livelihood for 5 years is test lenses, and I get asked every day, "Who makes the best lenses?" And the answer is, which lens? Who makes the best 35 prime? Who makes the best 24-70 zoom?
Best in what way?
Yeah. Nobody is best.
All right, we'll move on, and Chris. We'll send Chris credit. Again, congratulations. And email us if you're interested in some more details. And
unless the baby's already come.
Oh, the due date is not until October. So
okay.
we got some time to cover Chris's issues. The next question is from Chuck. And Chuck writes, I'm looking to upgrade from a Canon 5D Mark IV to a new Canon mirrorless. I'm thinking the R6 may be a good match since my primary photography is event/concert photography. However, I do travel photography as well, with some landscapes mixed in. I'd like to get feedback on whether the R6 is the way to go or if I should be looking into the R5.
I think the R6 is plenty of camera. I would say if you're doing a lot of more action-oriented stuff, the 5 is a little better. But for everything he's listing, R6 should cover literally everything. Just fine.
What are the technical differences that make the difference there?
You're going to make me look this up, aren't you?
You don't have to look it up, but you may want to. Is it a crop sensor?
No.
The R6?
They're both full frame.
Is the R6 just lower resolution?
I don't even think it's that.
It is lower resolution.
Is it slightly lower?
22, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It maybe is a little better ISO performance, maybe not. You know, that's always an argument.
It's about the same.
I think it may be
slightly different.
It's certainly half the price.
Yeah. It's got the flip out screen too.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, my answer is always the same. Do you need the resolution or do you want the resolution? And if you want the resolution and you're rich, get it.
Yeah. I mean,
it sounds like unless you're printing, that's probably not a huge concern.
It's the only time it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Printing and cropping. So if he wants to print, 24 by 36s, and do that all the time and have some room to crop, get the R5.
My answer is slightly different. Drag your feet and take a little time because there should be a couple of new cameras being released any moment.
Ooh.
And even if you don't want those, the R5 and R6 are going to get cheaper. So slow down.
Wait 6 months?
Yeah.
I think 3.
Especially if you're already working with a 5D Mark IV, which is, you've got plenty of camera for now. Maybe just wait and see if something else comes out that you like.
Also, if you can wait 6 months, you'll either hit Black Friday sales or Christmas sales.
And we'll have some Black Friday sales. Great way to promote your friends at Lensrentals. You can buy one from us used and maybe save a little bit of money.
That's actually, I don't pimp us too much, but one thing here is with cameras as opposed to lenses, when a new camera comes out, our existing fleet suddenly doesn't get rented. And even though it's not old enough to sell, we end up selling it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those, that's the time where you find a camera that's really only 6 months old at, an 2-year-old price. So thought.
Not too bad.
Next question is from Dan. And these are both in the kind of camera section that I've organized our questions into. Dan was photographing a geyser in Iceland. Excuse me. Let me take that again.
Easy for you to say.
Dan was photographing a geyser in Iceland last week when it went. Right. I don't know why I can't read these.
Geyser is an Icelandic word, too.
Please keep all this. Don't cut it.
We're going to leave all of it. Dan was photographing a geyser in Iceland last week when it unexpectedly went much higher and farther than usual and soaked me and my camera, a Nikon Z50.
Oh, that's bad.
A few hours later, it stopped working.
Yep.
Do you think it is repairable, and do you have any advice for protecting a camera in potentially bad weather? I know the first half of that is not answerable.
Actually, I think it is answerable.
Yeah, it's answerable.
Oh, no.
It is not. It's a
I was
geyser.
a little curious if geyser water was specifically bad because of the high mineral.
Heavy
Exactly.
mineral content. That thing
yeah.
is
So it's
that
not
thing is
fresh
done.
water. It's basically nearly salt
Right.
water.
Yeah.
That
So
thing is
fresh water is
corrodible to hell, probably.
maybe not fine, but at
Survivable.
least better than salt water or mineral water,
Yeah.
basically.
Basically, anything with lots of salts and minerals or salts is going to slowly eat your camera up.
Okay.
And that's the reason nobody will repair it is they can fix everything that's broken, and 3 months later, more stuff's eaten away. So,
Oh, okay. So it just like keeps
yeah,
grading.
the repair shop's going to go, we have to give you a 6-month warranty, and so we're not going to repair it because we can't give you a 6 months warranty.
That makes sense.
But as far as inclement weather, they do make raincoats for cameras. But I have always found that a good trash bag and some rubber bands work just as well in their dirt.
Baggies and rubber bands.
Yeah, that is the half of this question that I thought would be more helpful for everybody. So baggies and rubber bands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to be necessarily more professional than that.
And
Not
just
at
for the
all.
future of all questioners who question about what is the best water resistant camera, which camera has the best weather resistance, blah, 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 doesn't matter. Put a baggie on it.
Yeah, you at least can't plan around that.
If it was that resistant, they wouldn't have water damage voids warranty on it.
Right. Right.
I would also say throw a couple of Syllica packets in your camera bag.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's easy to do. It's cheap. You can buy them on Amazon or whatever. We keep 1 million of them around here.
Especially if you're going in and out of AC to hot and vice versa.
Compensation. Yeah, you can put one of those in the lens cap on a lot of lenses
Mhm.
and just put the lens cap back on the back and it dries the lens really well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I didn't think about that.
Not behind the lens cap of your camera. Bad idea. But the lens itself, yeah.
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah, don't put it next to the sensor or anywhere in the mirror box. Like, don't do that. It's bad.
Oh, yeah. Do not put it inside your camera.
Yeah,
also,
I was-
don't eat it. There's a reason they put that on the outside.
I said lens cap, and I know somebody's going to hear camera cap.
Yep.
So this next one, this is a fun one. I've got a whole section of like Lensrentals internal processes questions, and we got more of those than I would have expected. I'm glad people are curious
right.
about how Lensrentals works, and this is the first one, a longer question than he wrote in. This one is from Garrett. I'm going to kind of condense it a little bit. How do you get rid of smells from cameras, bags, and accessories?
Febreze and time.
It's Febreze time and sometimes low heat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you're, careful, you can put it in an oven at 120 degrees or 110 degrees. I don't think anything gets damaged at that temperature.
Mm-mm.
The other thing you can do, I haven't done it, but ozone
Yeah.
kills smells. That's what they do your cars in. And when like a
He
smoke.
mentioned ozone in the like longer version of the question.
Yeah,
kinda
I would
cut out.
put a lens in ozone, I think, but I can't guarantee it won't affect the coatings. I don't think I'd
shouldn't.
put a camera in, but I don't know enough about it, except if you trade in your car and you're a smoker, they flood the whole damn thing with ozone. So cars have electronics, so I guess that
It should be
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah. It also depends on the nature of the smell, like what caused it.
true.
If
Yeah.
it's smoke,
I think in a lot of cases we're talking about cigarette smoke.
I think cigarette smoke's the biggest complaint we get from people.
yeah.
Mhm.
Some renter smoked around the bag and the fuzzy lining picked it up. And
Right. Or the rubber soaked it in or something.
Yeah.
Or, we get weed smells all the time.
We do.
Well, I get the
I
occasional.
was using the generic smoke.
Yeah, all smoke.
All smoke.
I get the occasional pet smell from where an animal.
Just hike their leg on our camera.
Yeah,
stuff.
that's happened.
It's happened.
That's happened.
Yeah, there's also just the kind of like, especially, this doesn't happen with camera bodies or lenses or bags even so much, but with like easy rigs or things that go on your body, backpacks, we'll get like sweat sometimes.
Yeah.
What I've been waiting for, we've never had, is dead body smell. Because I know we send some cameras out to forensic police.
Oh,
but
shit.
I don't recall having ever had that.
I don't know what a dead body smells like.
Me neither.
Oh, you would.
I don't have
you
the
would
life
smell it
experience.
and honestly go, oh, that something died up in here.
And you'd be right.
I've
It-
read a
it's-
description of this in novels.
I think it's like hardwired in our brains.
We just know
This
what
is
dead
death smell.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I know this is I watched Mythbusters back in the day, and they found that was the hardest smell to get out. Apparently,
Oh, man.
All right. Well, we haven't had to deal with that yet. The hardest smell we've had to get out is Teamster sweat from Easy Rigs.
Yeah. And believe me, that is difficult to get out. We have some.
We had protocols for that, as I recall, for Easy Rigs.
Yeah, we have some like enzyme activated cleaners or something that we spray on it. And that works pretty well.
Sometimes it needs like a few coats of that stuff and just like a couple of days to air out.
Yep.
And if you're in a climate like ours in the summer, we can't really do it around here, but if I was at home, putting stuff out in the sun and letting it bake does wonders for smells.
And I would say the same for, you can use dryer sheets if you've got your own, like, I know I use those in like gym shoes occasionally. Dryer sheets are really handy. And again, Syllica packets.
Yeah. And also the sun is a good one if you've gotten kind of moist stuff around your camera gear. The sun will kill any kind of fungus spores or stuff inside your lens.
Mildew and that stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, the stuff that causes this is, I guess, not in the case of like smoke, but we're talking about moisture in the same way that we're talking about like smell.
Right.
Well, the fact that you can smell it means it's being given off into the air.
Yeah.
And any kind of heat is going to speed that up.
All right, well, let's take a break right there, and we'll be right back with more listener questions.
Want a discount on your next order from Lensrentals? Head to lensrentals.com/podcast or follow the link in the show notes for a coupon code. As the largest online photo and video equipment rental house in the world, Lensrentals has been supplying both professionals and hobbyists for over 15 years. We carry everything from cameras and lenses to drones, computers, even VR headsets, all shipped straight to your door for whatever length of time you need. Rent the gear you need to get the shot and grab a discount at lensrentals.com/podcast. That's lensrentals.com/podcast.
Welcome back to the Lensrentals podcast. Joey, Roger, and I are answering listener questions. The next one, this one is from Joe. Do you think cameras? I'll stop and preface this by this one got picked because it's a video question. We didn't get very many video questions, and I want to answer a question too.
Okay.
So if you're listening to this and aren't sure how to get your question onto the Lensrentals podcast, because we got a lot, we can't answer all of them, send in a video question. And your chances are good. So Joe asks, do you think cameras with in-body image stabilization will make gimbals obsolete, or that we'll just be able to reach new heights of stabilization using in-body image stabilization on a gimbal? And I will say almost 100% definitively no. I don't think cameras with in-body image stabilization will make gimbals obsolete simply because it's sort of a different look.
No, the IS is working at very high frequencies, multiple per second.
Yes, exactly.
So you're looking at 3 per second or higher frequencies. A gimbal's doing that swaying up the stairs thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's sort of a
Different things.
different aesthetic look. And it depends on, obviously, like how the algorithms are designed and how in-body image stabilization works. But if you're talking about in-body image stabilization from a camera that is meant for photography, it doesn't look anywhere near the same as like video specific stabilization. I would go further to say that I don't think gimbals have made the Steadicam obsolete. So certainly in-body image stabilization isn't going to make gimbals obsolete. Steadicam and gimbal is an entirely different look, and some things are better for certain aesthetics than other things.
Sensor stabilization will never have the full range of motion that either of those other two have. Like
Right.
Never.
And, I don't know enough about no video, but we're still renting dollies and tracks and all those other things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nothing is making anything obsolete in terms of camera movement. And even if we're not talking about, balancing the XYZ axis, your gimbal is also going to smooth out pan, tilt, and roll, which your sensor isn't going to do anything for. Neither will in lens image stabilization. So fully different thing. Next question is from John. How has the camera industry changed since Lensrentals began? And where do you see it going in the next 3 to 5 years? This is an entire episode.
That is an entire episode.
No, it's not.
We can
Part
even
one.
ignore the first
sum
part
up.
of that question.
Part 1, for the worse.
Part 2?
Yeah.
What was part 2?
I don't know.
Where's it going? I don't know.
Has
It's going to get
changed for the worse.
smaller. It's going to get more video centric. Those are the only things I can see clearly happening.
Yeah, like when we started, mirrorless was a pipe dream,
Oh, yeah.
And then now it's the thing.
Well, and we've gone from, I guess in the last 5 years, and Joey, you're probably more up on these numbers than me, but I'd say in 5 years, we've gone from 20 to 60% video.
I think it's even more than that.
Okay. So that changes there. And if you want to, I don't care if you're a photographer or videographer, but every photo lens company has started making video lenses, and it's not because they're doing so great with photo.
Right.
I mean, this is where the money is. This is the solid thing. And, you know, we've even seen that. Photo varies week to week with the season, around holidays. Video is steady. It's always there.
Yep.
So I think photo companies, as a rule, are heading to become more video-centric. I think lens makers are very much heading to be video-centric, and some folks are barely making it. But the fun thing for me is some new folks, there are more new lens companies that have come up in the last 3-4 years than probably in the decade before, because things have changed. So,
well, and I will say, I think we still have more photo clients, individual clients, than we do video clients.
Absolutely.
But the video clients spend way more money.
Yeah.
I think there's that. And, you know, this all pans out that we started as a photo company,
Right.
and we've never like guided ourselves. We just got drug into different areas, really.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like, oh, this is what people want, and it'll rent. We got to do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The impression that I get, and I was not around for this transition, but the impression that I get is that video is sort of a surprise.
Oh, it was.
And not an intention, and that you just sort of kind of, you know, went where they asked you to go.
Right. The first video stuff was like a 5D2, right?
Yeah, that's what started video for us. We got 5D2s and people were doing video with it, and we're like, okay, we gotta.
Yeah, we didn't want to, but we ended up having to rent Magic Lantern copies.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, oh, all right,
that was a nightmare.
Yeah, we're going down a dark path.
This is going way back, but when Eric came, the first video person, and I told him, I'm afraid this isn't going to pan out. I think it's going to be a temporary thing, because I thought it was maybe a fad. And, you know, now what's the video department, like 40 people?
Yeah. we have way more video specific.
Eric is now the tech room manager.
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric manages way more people than Lensrentals was when he came.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's the answer to the first half of the question, where do you see, let's not even say the industry as a whole, because that's impossible. Where do you see lens rentals specifically going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Nowhere. We here, man. But I think that's the cool thing.
3 to 5 years is not a long time.
Into a new building?
Yeah, new building.
We may move into a new building. But I don't see anything changing substantially.
But our business model has always been, we got what you want, and whatever what you want changes, we get it. So
right, and we're never gonna not cater to photo clients. Like,
right.
We've got like three or 400 5D4s in there. Like that's gonna stay the way.
Oh, of course.
And not only
this
that,
is not to say that video is going to take over photo.
No, but
the way that photo goes away.
I think the other part of it is our purpose is we got what you want. So you say, yeah, we got 300 or 400 5D4s. We also got like 8 of some other cameras.
Yeah.
And none of those are money makers, but we pride ourselves on, if you want it, we got it.
Right. Like we've got 3 Leica monochromes. Just
exactly.
Because.
Because. I think that's through this whole company, everybody hates it when somebody calls and says, do you not have this? And we like freak out.
Yeah.
And sometimes we buy it and we all know this ain't going to rent, but okay.
And then it does sometimes.
Yeah, well, that was recently when I was making those decisions. We're more efficient now.
Roger's Follies.
Roger's Follies.
But, I mean, that's true. We'll like sit for years and years and years and be like, well, we're not going to buy that. That will never rent. It won't make money. And then finally enough people ask for sandbags where we do it. And we can't keep sandbags on the shelves.
Oh.
This is stuff that you don't think about unless you let your clients drag you where they want you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I guess the answer is,
we'll be the same.
Yeah. Where it's going the next 3 to 5 years is, I don't know, whatever people want it to be.
Along, yeah.
We're a follower, not a leader.
Yeah.
That's
so John, in short, you tell us where to go in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and we'll try.
Exactly.
I can't tell you the number of things, though, that people have gone, well, I've had 3 customers ask for that, and I'll just say that's stupid and it's crazy, and we buy 3, and they're all rented out in a week, and I'm told y'all work.
All right. Well, this next one is a fun one since we're all back in the studio and I can look at this equipment. Megan asks, what advice do you have for anyone wanting to start a podcast? And more importantly, what gear are you using right now? Mics, headphones, etc. And I would say I don't think I or any of us is qualified to give advice for anyone wanting to start a podcast from any perspective other than the gear to use. I didn't have any experience doing this before we started the Lensrentals podcast. We're kind of just going by the seat of our pants. So I would seek out somebody else's advice for anything but the gear stuff. But I can say that the gear we're using right now are 3 Shure MV7 mics. And we've talked about that on the podcast before. They're really great mics. They're based on the Shure SM7B, which is a great dialogue mic. But they will run directly into a computer over USB, so you don't need to run an XLR cable. So if it's only you speaking, you can just run your mic straight into your computer and you're good to go. They're also a lot cheaper than the SM7B. So I think they're like $300 retail. We rent them if you want to try them out. We're also using, I'm looking at it right now, a Rodecaster from Rode. That is a pretty easy to use 4-input XLR recorder with like some podcast specific tools. Like it's got a little soundboard. If you need to introduce sound effects, it can bring in Bluetooth sources. It's great. I would recommend it to anybody who wants to start a podcast and doesn't want to be like neck deep in audio equipment.
Let me chime in here. I have turned that on myself, so it's easy to use. Yes.
Roger has used it alone, which is saying something.
Yeah.
It is relatively simple. And let's see what else. We run that. I actually only use that for mixing and run it out into a computer. That's really just to save time. You don't necessarily have to do that. I use it so I don't have to import files into Audition. We use Audition to edit. And the last thing I'll say, I feel like I'm going too long on this podcast question because it interests me. For our remote interviews, we use a service called Zencastr that is a lot like Skype, like it's a voice over internet protocol thing, but it records the audio on each end on local computers. So your audio quality ends up being a lot better than Skype. About cover it. Oh, and we're using Sony MDR 7506 headphones, almost purely an aesthetic decision.
Oh yeah, these are overkill for this.
Yeah.
But they're very comfortable.
You don't need fancy headphones, but I use them because they look cool and they're comfortable. They say studio monitor on top, which feels very professional.
Does that not sum us up? We use them because they look cool in a thing where nobody can see us.
Absolutely.
That's really us.
Absolutely.
Yes. Also because I own a pair and I want to make sure we're all using the same pair of headphones. All right, the next question. I like this one because it's from what sounds like a super beginner, and I think the advice you guys are going to give is advice that everybody can keep in mind. I might be wrong about how you're going to answer this question, but we'll see. Corey writes, as a beginner photographer, having the ability to rent a lens before I buy has been fantastic, but how do I know what tech/lens I'm missing out on that I need to try? I can't help but think there is some magic filter/tripod/flash, etc., that I didn't know I needed. Does that make sense? And is there an online friend or guide who can tell me, quote, this lens is coming out for your camera and you need to try it?
Well, there's our newsletter.
I forget. Yeah, definitely our newsletter, the best source for advice on the internet.
Definitely.
And if you go to any photography forum, there are hundreds of people who will tell you you've got the wrong equipment and you need this, no matter what you've got.
The best advice I have is don't listen to any of those people ever. I like to check Petapixel and a couple other blogs just to see what new stuff is out. Just don't read the comments and really don't read the descriptions very much. Just take the picture and be like, I think that does that. And then go look it up elsewhere. But for the most part, you don't really need most of that stuff.
Yeah. Really focus on what you're looking to add to your own work.
Wait, gearhead time now. The key words were mentioned in the question to me. They are tripod, flash.
Yeah.
And if you've got any of those two things and know how to use them, then you can move on to other stuff. But I can't tell you the number of people that are on their 18th lens that have never used a tripod.
Right. I think.
Or only do ambient light photography because they don't know how to use a flash.
Right. Yeah. Same thing could be said for filter. I think if you're going to try a filter, I think the motivation needs to be, I am, say, taking some outdoor shots and I would like to shut my iris down a little bit more. And what gear will enable me to do that? Not necessarily, bro, you got to check out this sweet new filter.
Right. I think the biggest pitfall for for a lot of new photographers is I've got to have this thing to get that look.
Right.
Well, that's not a style. Like,
And that look is maybe about 7 years of experience, not about the
right. That's chasing gimmicks is a thing you can do for the rest of your life if you really feel like it, but it will always be just that. It will always be a gimmick. People get those lens balls. That's a gimmick. People get those like weird, like star filters. That was a gimmick in the 80s. Nobody uses that anymore unless it's like a stylistic choice.
And there's a thing where I think that's the time renting those things is fun. It's always fun.
Right.
90% of the people who rent a fisheye love it and never want to shoot with one again.
Right.
You just, okay, I got it out of my system. It's a one-trick pony. I know what it does. Bye.
I think the best question you can always ask yourself at any point in your photography journey is, what am I doing now? What do I want to be doing? What kind of look am I trying to achieve? And then once you know the answer to that, then you can ask, okay, what do I need to achieve that look?
Exactly. Yeah. I completely agree. It's all about intent. You don't want to be like chasing down megapixel counts just for the sake of it. But if you start printing your own work and you're finding that your resolution isn't up to snuff, that you're seeing some pixelation, then seek out more megapixels. It's all about intent.
Right.
I'll give a little aside that has always been my advice to beginning photographers and also to photographers who find themselves in a rut is get your camera, put one prime lens on it, and shoot only with that for 10 days. And it forces you to learn a whole lot about how to make shots and frame shots and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It changes the way you look. The greatest experience I ever had was I spent 10 days and the only thing I could shoot with was some 17 millimeter or whatever. I think it was a Canon back in the day. But I learned all kinds of things I could do that I didn't know I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is as you learn photography, was for me and everybody I know, you get competent at certain things, and then you have to force yourself to leave those things because that feeling of competence is so comforting that you want to stay there.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that competence is I'm good with a 24/7 2.8 zoom. Right. And you got to get out of that. Right. And that's the only way I know to force myself to do it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So my advice, my number one advice to everyone that shoots is shoot every day. And I mean every day. Shoot every single day, every chance you can, and just keep doing it over and over. It's the Chuck Close method. It's put in your 8 hours a day. There's no such thing as inspiration's bullshit, is what he says. It is doing the job over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, and just kind of see what you're doing and iterate on that. And if you're going to try new gear, do it with the idea that you've got a goal in mind.
Right. And I mean, I'm going to get pilloried for this.
Oh no!
Yay! You've got a whole podcast.
I feel like we've already gone way too philosophical.
Yeah.
I don't like unpredictable things, which is why I hate modern reinventions of instant film that is just shit film. It's like I don't know what's going to happen when I shoot this. I want a consistent, repeatable product so that I can do the same thing every time I want with it. If you're basing your entire art form on unpredictability, that's a choice, but I think it's a bullshit choice.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's like a degree to which not being able to control the result is, I don't know, interesting and a motivating factor, but...
are you a photo maker or are you a photo taker?
Right.
Which one do you want to be? And I'm not going to say there's a wrong choice there.
I do have to say that I find the phrase make a photo to be very slightly pretentious, but I'm not a photographer.
I mean,
I might get pilloried for that.
What are you doing though? Like, are you making an image or are you just snapping?
I mean, I guess
image?
it's just the difference in the statement to me, I guess.
It goes back to what you said. It's intent. It's all about intent.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing it on purpose.
If I'm walking around on the beach with a camera on my neck and I take pictures, and some of them are great, I took them.
Right.
If I set up lighting and a model, or I set up a scene and an angle of view, and I wait for a certain part of sunrise or whatever, I made it.
Right. If I go out with the specific intent of creating certain types of images, I am making those images.
Full disclosure, my best pictures are ones I took because my making wasn't ever that good, which is
yeah, no, my making
kind of
is,
why I
my
started a
making
rental
is
company.
not very good either. Maybe it's just a subtle
Joey does fine art
jealousy
photography.
of-
I took snapshots.
I mean, y'all should just shoot every day, like I said.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
I just finished a 365.
I don't do anything every day.
I was packing boxes, man. I didn't have time for that stuff.
All right.
Totally fair.
There's no way I'm leaving all of that in.
I know.
All right. I feel like that's a good one to end on. Thank you guys both for joining us.
Yeah.
And we'll pick it back up soon.
That was
Okay.
a blast.
Thanks for listening to the Lens Rentals podcast. Again, if you have a question you want answered, send it our way by filling out the Google form linked to in the show notes for this episode. If we pick your question to answer on the air, we'll send you a Lens Rentals gift card for your trouble. As always, make sure to visit lensrentals.com/podcast for a discount on your next order from us. And if you're enjoying the show, you can support it by subscribing and giving us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're on Instagram and Twitter at Lensrentals, and thanks to Jacques Granger for our theme music. More of his work can be found at revengebodymemphis.bandcamp.com. On the next episode of the Lens Rentals podcast, yeehaw! It's a new gear rodeo. We'll be talking about our favorite new video products that have arrived on the shelves in the last few weeks. Saddle up on the next episode of the Lens Rentals podcast.